Hey, everybody. Welcome to Games Are Fun. My name is Adam Beagle. I'm going to be your host for this episode. I'm joined today by two of my co hosts for this week's episode. We've got our newbie, the intern, my brother, Stephen Beagle. Stephen, how you doing today?
Doing really well. Moving towards the weekend with that Alex Mukala One Wing Angel vibe right now. So the bass is
So good.
slapping.
So good. Yeah. Slap it up ass. And of course, we've got our leader and the llama, Luke Armstrong. How you doing, Luke?
I'm doing great. Really happy to be here. And again, just happy for another episode where I'm not in the hosting chair. It's nice to, man, last episode, Garrett stepped in the hosting chair and it was like the first live stream I think I've ran where I didn't have to host. And man, was it so much easier. I could keep an eye on chat. It
Kicking
was
back.
a lot more manageable. So thank you for taking the reins this episode, Adam.
You got it. Yeah, and I'm excited too because our last several episodes have all been very themed, right? We had our
Hmm.
favorite games of 2020, our most anticipated games of 2021. We had our fantasy league draft, so it's been a lot of themes. I'm really excited to finally have some gaming news to talk about. So this will be a good episode, I think. So before we get into all that, though, we do want to remind you all that Games Are Fun is a weekly podcast. Each week, Luke, Steven, Garrett, and I, we get together. We talk about video game news, trending industry topics. We give reviews on recent game releases, games we've been playing. It's available on all your favorite podcast services like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Pocket Casts, and so much more. All you got to do is search for Games Are Fun on any of those platforms, and you'll be able to find us. You can also check us out with video versions of the episodes on the Games Are Fun YouTube page. So, if you want to see these, recordings of these live episodes, or even if we just do a recorded video, you can find them there, and you can put faces to the names or the voices if you've just been listening in. So, be
Yeah,
sure to check
we
that out.
we'd really appreciate it if you could head over there and subscribe because we're just kind of starting. Like I've had that channel since I launched the podcast, but it really hasn't had any content on it until recently, and we only have 14 subscribers. So we'd really help to up our subscriber count on that, so that we can hopefully at some point get a custom URL. So we could just be like
Mhm.
youtube.com/games are fun. So it's kind of hard to promote that YouTube channel when you don't have like a hyperlink that you can just shout out to people. So yeah, I'll link it in the chat for our Twitch viewers, and then of course check the show notes for the link if you're listening on audio services.
All right. And you can also catch the show live from time to time, like some of you are doing right now. It's at twitch.tv/games are fun podcast. So make sure to follow us here on Twitch so you can catch us when we go live, get that notification on there. So you know when it's happening. We also try and make sure to post ahead of time on Discord and Twitter, the social media sites. So follow us there as well, and you'll know when we're going to be doing live episodes. Uh, this episode of the Games Are Fun podcast is brought to you by the Games Are Fun store, but we're going to talk about that a little bit later. Just a little bit of quick housekeeping before we get on our first topic is for those of you, if you missed the Fantasy Critic Draft, it was such a fun episode. It was, again, that was a live episode. If you missed it, don't worry. You can listen to it on whatever podcast platform you listen to. So, again, we mentioned those a little bit earlier. Go make sure to follow us on your favorite podcast platform of choice, or it will also be on YouTube. So you can find it there. Again, if you want to watch the video version of it and watch us react together as we make our picks, go check it out there. Also, Steven and I, we just launched our new monthly show all about RPGs. We call it Level Grinders. The first episode is out now, currently on YouTube channel. Again, that's the Games Are Fun YouTube channel. And it also has its own podcast feed as well. So if you look up Level Grinders podcast, you'll be able to find us on there. So if you like RPGs or you just want more contact from the Games Are Fun crew, make sure to give that a listen. Give us a follow. All right. So we're going to move into our first story here. It's one that I'm actually very excited about for two reasons. One is it's a highly anticipated game by many people that got a leak, and I happen to draft it on my fantasy critic team. So If it does launch when this leak is mentioning, I think I'm going to be in good shape, and I'm it's it you know we're looking at a release this year, which is going to be really exciting. So this comes from Dual Shockers by Rachel Fittis, and this is Breath of the Wild 2 could release very soon, according to a leak. So just to read a little bit here, according to an Australian retailer, Gameware, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 could be coming out at some stage this year between April 1st and June 1st. The apparent leak was first seen over on Reddit, which listed the eagerly anticipated Nintendo Switch game as coming out in the second quarter of 2021. Unfortunately, Gameware doesn't say anything else regarding its release date or any other kind of information, so this could very well be the usual placeholder that is put on upcoming games. As always with leaks and rumors, it's taken with a piece of salt, but there has been plenty of buzz around The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 releasing this year, so there could be some truth to it. Gameware does apparently have a nose for sniffing things like this out, uh, though, as we saw last year, correctly announced the worldwide release of Kingdom Hearts Melody of Memory. But until we get an official statement from Nintendo, we won't know for sure. Either way, you can be sure that when it does release, it will most certainly be one of Nintendo's biggest games of the generation. So, big news story there. Like I said, multiple reasons to be excited about it. Steven, what do you think here? What's your thoughts on this leak?
So Nintendo hates this stuff, right? Hates when these leaks come
Oh
around.
yeah.
I know that. And you're right. If it does come out Q2, this is going to be a big release for you for your fantasy team, and then also for us as gamers. Like this is because this is one of the most anticipated games that anybody saw from that E3. I think also it leaves room for that hope on a new Metroid game also, because if they're coming out Q2 with this, that leaves room in the back half during the holiday season to get something else. I want this to happen just for that, second big title that we're going to get for the holiday release window. I hope it's true. I really do.
Same. Yeah, it's very, very exciting, very highly anticipated game. I personally love the original. This one, we only saw a little snippet of it, but I know a lot of people have really high hopes for it, and hopefully it doesn't disappoint. But Luke, what are your thoughts here?
Yeah, so I like the article said, take it with a grain of salt. It's a retail leak. There's so many placeholders for games that just got announced, games that haven't been announced. Like retail's notorious for just kind of putting things up like that. And I'm not familiar with Gameware. I don't know, like in terms of like in Australia, like if they have a reputation or anything like that. But these retail leaks sometimes do come true, right? We saw that a couple of years ago at E3, that Walmart Canada one, where they just like leaked so many games that ended up being true. I think like 80% of them were true. So I always love hearing this because it gets us hyped. I love a good rumor on a release date. I do think, like you guys, I think Q2 might be a little too early for this one. A couple people in our chat here, Nishon, Butlord Primus, are talking about, Q2 is too soon, and I agree with them. I think this is something that if there's just not enough time, I think, for them to get the marketing out and have it out there in the wild, and I don't know. It's hard to say. I think they're just going to want to have more time to hype up this stuff. They're going to want to do deep dive gameplays. So I don't know. I see it. But then again, like, who knows? Nintendo could literally come out this month, come out with a direct, show off a huge chunk of the game and say it's coming in April or something like that. So, I mean, Nintendo, it's so hard to gauge whether, they really slide all the time all over the place. So I would love for it to come out sooner, but my thought is it's not going to come until the later half of the year.
The other thing too that now we're in this whole new world of no E3 sort of thing, right? So like the other thing that we usually get with these big releases is a treehouse where they do those deep dive the big marketing, the room set up with all this with all the swag and all that sort of statues and stuff. So like, what are we going to get on that end with it? Or if they're completely abandoning that, and maybe we just do get a direct with it, or are we going to see that Treehouse standard move into promoting this game as well if it is coming out this year? Because then you have summer that we actually get the deep dive, which moves that to a holiday release, if anything, sort of similar to Sword and Shield and Luigi's Mansion whenever they did those tree houses back during those release windows. So is it too early? Maybe. I mean, April is still a couple months away. They still have enough time to get us some more information out on it. And let's face it, and Nintendo knows this too. As soon as they say this game's coming out, people are going to buy it. They don't have to market it like crazy, right? It's going to be a huge title, and just toss it. I think you announce it that it's released tomorrow, and they'll sell a bajillion copies. So I don't know. It's hard. We used to be able to have a kind of a barometer prediction on when certain things were going to happen because of E3, and now that that's gone, like it's tough to really say for sure what those windows are going to be anymore.
Yeah, I'm gonna make a bold prediction here, and I'm gonna say that we get a Nintendo Direct this month. So I think by the end of February we will have a legitimate Nintendo Direct, because the last time we had one was almost a year ago at this point, like a real Nintendo, not Direct Mini, not Indie World, not the partner showcase or whatever, like a legit Nintendo Direct. We are way overdue for one at this point. And I agree with you, Steven. I think this is a game that has its own hype. It doesn't need any sort of lead time for it to get into people's minds and the thought process of the consumers. Like everybody wants this game. Everybody knows it's coming. It's already been announced. It's not like it's a secret or anything. But yeah, I think Q2. I think that's a perfectly fine time. I think there's a very real possibility that in the next Direct they are ready to show it, and they're ready to say it's coming out this year, May or June or what have you. So I think it's reasonable. And again, Stephen, like you said, I think that paves the way for a second half of the year big game release, whether it be, Metroid Prime 4. Maybe we do finally get that. Maybe we get a new Mario game, right? Because I was just thinking, like, our last mainline Mario game, like new mainline Mario game, was 2017. And so if we're sort of in that timeline where Breath of the Wild is getting a release this year, why not Mario 2? Because they announced Zelda and Mario in 2017, the same year. So we could see sort of a cycle where the two of them come around together. So I think honestly, Metroid Prime 4 could fall anywhere. I know there's a lot of people hyped for it. I don't think it needs to necessarily have its own space, because Metroid has historically been not as big of a seller as Mario and Zelda. Like those are the big, really tentpole franchises. Not to say Metroid's a small franchise, but I think they're not banking on it being necessarily a system seller like maybe Mario or Zelda would be. So that could show up anywhere in the year, I think. But yeah, if they did Zelda first half, Mario second half, I could totally see that happening.
Yeah, if there is a chance that a Mario game gets announced and is scheduled, then yeah, like I think they could use Mario as their system seller, because he is the face of Nintendo, he is the face of the Switch. So I can see that. But back to my point of just like them wanting, I'm totally in agreement. This game will sell millions of copies, and I don't think they need to do like months after months after months of marketing and promo to sell the game. But I think maybe they want to do that in order to, I don't know, I just think that if you're releasing a Mario game or a Zelda game, that is your opportunity to push more consoles out the door, right? And I don't know what manufacturing has looked like in the last year because of COVID. I know that there were shortages last year in like March when Animal Crossing was going out. I'm not sure what the levels are like now, but that Switch Pro, I just think like they're going to want to spend that time so that, oh, this game's coming out at the end of the year alongside a Switch Pro or something like that, and it gives people time to save up that money and make that decision months ahead of time that they're going to do that. And so when you have all these people all over the world just kind of letting it brew, I think that would be the better business strategy. But again, what do I know? So I don't know. I don't get me wrong. If it comes Q2, I will be hype as hell. But I'm putting on the record right now, I don't think it's going to happen. I'm saying if Breath of the Wild releases this year, it's going to release in either Q3 or Q4.
Hey, as long as it releases this year, I'm good.
Yeah.
Nintendo, don't let my fantasy team down, okay? Now, a little bit ago, I proclaimed, whether it's a hot take or not, that I think we're going to get a Nintendo Direct by the end of February. What do you guys think? Where's the next Nintendo Direct gonna come in?
Honestly, I'm with you on a February Direct. I am, because like you said, it's been a very long time since we had a big one, and since everybody's kind of doing their own announcement, streams and things along those lines, instead of waiting for the big hype in June, I think that we see the Direct in February, and that's going to give us a lot of the big titles that we're all kind of anticipating for this year. One is what we're talking about now, Breath of the Wild. I think another one is going to be maybe a 3D Zelda release, a trilogy release of some kind with them. I think we've got the Pokemon games that are all floating out in the wind for Nintendo as well toward the end of the year. So like, I think the perfect time for them to kind of dump all of this on us. And it was mentioned in chat. Taylor the Savior mentioned it. What is it? 80 million Switches sold. They're about to outsell PS4 and the Wii U in the way that they're moving. This would be a perfect opportunity for them to capitalize on the hype that's behind the Switch right now. For them to give us something this month to prepare ourselves for a summer, fall, and winter of Nintendo Switch gaming. I think it's a perfect opportunity for them.
Yes, and in the words of the great Reggie Fils-Aimé, our bodies are ready. I think I can speak for us all when I say that.
Yeah. When does Mario 3D World release this month?
Ooh. I'm not sure. I know it's soon.
It's next week, isn't it?
I think it is next week. Yeah.
Oh, this is
The 12th.
I'm just gonna say it then. I think what's gonna happen. What is it? Today's Wednesday. I think in then either Thursday, Friday, maybe next week sometime, Nintendo's gonna do their tweet out. Hey, we're having a direct, and it's gonna either be like a day before, Super Mario 3D World comes out, so that they can put in this little like hype trailer, and kind of use that as like, here's like our big topic for this direct, and then they could start it off with that, and then let's finish on a hype moment, get a Breath of the Wild sort of thing. I think like I'm just trying to think of like what could they should, like that's the first game coming this year. Could they get out in front of it to promo that, as well as give us all the other stuff that's coming this year? So Nishon says it comes out on the 12th. Okay, so I don't know. There isn't a lot of time, but I mean, Nintendo's notorious for like, hey, we're doing a direct in like 2 days. See you then. So I don't know.
So while we're on the topic of Nintendo, I had this a little further down the list, but let's think about this a little bit. So yesterday, February 2nd, Nintendo of America releases a tweet, says the next Animal Crossing New Horizons update is scheduled to launch in March. And in this picture that they show, it says free update scheduled for March. There's a picture of very famous icons from the Mario series. We have a mushroom, and we have the Power Star. And so I think this could be, maybe what you're saying, Luke, has some truth to it, because if they get a little bit of a direct, they can talk a little bit about Mario 3D World and Bowser's Fury. They can talk about this Mario stuff that's coming to Animal Crossing, and they can say, oh, by the way, here's a big new Mario game coming out at the end of the year. And then maybe then we also, they've potentially followed it up with some Zelda stuff. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what they do. But I think with Mario 3D World and then this Mario update. Maybe it's just a coincidence because 3D World is coming out that they're doing some stuff for Animal Crossing, but I still want to believe that there's going to be a new mainline Mario game on the way. But so yeah, so I mean, looking at that tweet, any thoughts you guys wanted to share on that as far as the Mario stuff that's coming?
I just think it's going to be a drop of a bunch of Mario stuff. I think they're sunsetting the 35th anniversary that technically was last year, but then I guess like I think it was March that they said that.
I think they're considering the fiscal year as the
Right.
35th. I think
Yeah.
that's why a lot of stuff is being discontinued at the
Exactly.
end of March,
Yeah.
at the end of fiscal
So
year.
I think they're
So
gonna like wrap
until
that up with an update pairing with
yeah,
their hottest game right now. I don't know what I think it's just gonna be like. I just think it's gonna be a lot of cosmetics, furniture, clothing. I don't
hey,
know.
I'm here for it. Give me all the Mario
I
stuff.
I'm down for it. I just don't. I'm not sure how
I
much
will
like
hop back in
gameplay
for all
stuff
the
will be
Mario.
there, but
The whole
Yeah.
section of my island dedicated to the Mushroom Kingdom. Like
Yeah.
it's happening.
Yeah. Yep.
damn.
They do have the launch of Nintendo World. I think is still happening in Japan this month too. So I mean that's
Hmm.
just another Mario related thing that they can toss in there. So maybe we'll see some of the stuff maybe that they've added in the park become something that they add into Animal Crossing as well. But yeah, I don't know. I thought that was interesting. I love Nintendo, so I wanted to bring up that topic. But going into our next major topic here, this is what I think is maybe kind of the biggest news of the week. And this is Google Stadia shutting down its internal studios. So, pulled a story here from Kotaku from Stephen Totillo, who says Google Stadia, the late 2019 streaming platform that promised to revolutionize gaming by letting users stream games without needing to own a powerful PC or console, is altering course, getting out of the game making business, and will now offer its platform directly to game publishers alongside offering Stadia Pro to the public. The company is announcing the news today, though Kotaku began to hear rumblings from sources close to Stadia last week that Google's service was heading for a major change. One games industry source told Kotaku that Google was canceling multiple projects, basically any game slated for release beyond a specific 2021 window. Though they believed games close to release would still come out. Today brings some clarification. Google will close its two game studios located in Montreal and Los Angeles. Neither had released any games yet. That closure will impact around 150 developers, one source familiar with Stadia operations said. The company says it will try to find those developers new roles at Google. Jade Raymond, the veteran producer who helped build Assassin's Creed for Ubisoft and moved on to EA several years ago before leaving to run game creation at Stadia, is exiting the company, according to Google. Google will continue to operate the Stadia gaming service and its $10 monthly Stadia Pro service. It's unclear how many, if any, exclusive games will still come to the service. The company has indicated that it can still sign new games and will bring more third-party releases to the platform. It nevertheless will look to many like a drawdown of the plan to have Stadia run as a bona fide competitor to console platforms. So it goes on a little bit further, but I feel that's the most important information to this story. How do you guys feel about this?
Well, I mean, I like we saw it coming, right? We knew that this was bound to happen at some point. It's unfortunate that this happened before they even got an opportunity to ship something out the door. That I didn't expect. I thought we would at least see, first party Stadia game make its way to the platform before they pivoted or dismantled their business strategy. But yeah, I mean, we've talked about Stadia on this podcast for quite a while. It's a topic that's come up. I pre-ordered it back in the day, and
I remember.
yeah, and
I was so jealous of you too.
yeah, I was able to get like a founder's edition, pre-ordered it, and then about a week before, I was like, "Ooh, man!" Hearing all this bad stuff about it, I don't know if I want to go for it, and so I ended up just canceling it, returning it, and yeah, I'm glad I made that decision because even a year after it released, last fall. It was clear that this platform, I mean, like literally, what does it have going for it, right? The only thing is that Play Anywhere, and I just, it doesn't speak to me as a consumer. So I never been on. It really had the need for something like that. I mean, you talk about being able to play games anywhere. I have Xbox Game Pass. They have that, and I have used it, and it's nice that it's there, but it's also not something just with my routine that I really worry about. So yeah, to get back on track to the actual topic of conversation here of them closing these studios. I mean, obviously the worst part of this is the layoff of 150 developers, to get hired on to this new team and have a veteran in the industry, Jade Raymond, leading development and stuff like that. It sucks, and the fact that she's left, it shows you that they're just falling apart over there. And yeah, it's just a bummer that these people lost their jobs. I know that Google said that they were going to relocate them to other parts of Google, but I mean, these people are game developers, and it's clear that Google isn't probably going to be developing games anytime soon. So that's unfortunate. But what I will say is this kind of pivot in how they're going about Stadia Pro and all that, I think that is good. I think they can recover from this. I think they should have done some of these things a long time ago. And I don't mean close the studios, but just some of these other things that the article mentioned here with offering Stadia Pro to the public. Is that for... I'm assuming that means like for free?
Well, they do have a free version of Stadia, and then they have the Stadia Pro, which gives you
subscribe
access to
right?
certain you get certain free titles that you can play, almost like a Game Pass type thing. But then it also gives you access to, I believe, 4K gaming as well.
Yeah.
So there are some perks to it, but yeah, you can buy games for the platform and still have like that Play Anywhere thing. Free of cost.
And I still can't believe that you have to buy games on that platform. Like, I understand it, but it's just like, if I'm going to be streaming a game, like, it needs to be included in some sort of subscription service, because I know that not everyone is like us to have access to all these platforms to play things on, and maybe your phone is all you have, but I don't know. It's just like, to pay money for a piece of software that isn't, you don't even have it locally, right? It's being streamed over. It's not going to have the greatest connection all the time. So I can't believe, with how much Game Pass has ramped up in the last year, that Google has gone an entire year sticking to that model. I just don't think it'll work, and unless they change, Stadia is going to die before we know it. So anyways, I'll turn it over to you, Steven. What do you think?
So I'm not really too surprised. I'm not. Back whenever I was working retail, Google came out with their Google TV, right, which was this incredible technology, basically internet TV for one of the first times ever. Being able to stream or take a device, hook it up to your television set, stream TV services. It was one of the first things out there to be able to do this. It was innovative. It was a cutting edge technology. I was an early adopter to it, much like you were for Stadia. And was hoping for continued support beyond just the release of these products, but they fell out from it. They basically were like, here's this cool stuff, we're not going to deal with it anymore. And everybody else in the industry took it all over. So while I'm not surprised that this happened, I'm also not concerned, because the ripple effect is going to happen now. And we've already seen it with stuff like Xbox, and probably very soon with PlayStation as well, being able to play anywhere on any device, streaming your games. All of that stuff is going to start really settling in, and it's going to change how the gaming industry is going to do its thing, right? Mm-hmm. So that is done. That's the exciting part, really. It's not so much Stadia itself, it's what Stadia brought to the table for the industry. Now, as for the employees who lost their jobs, there's still Amazon games out there, right? So yeah, the two studios that they closed down that were specific to Stadia, they're gone, but they still have game development happening at Amazon, right? And Google, I think Google and Amazon, am I speaking right? mixing companies up. I'm probably mixing companies up.
I think you might be mixing.
Yeah,
they're
Amazon and Google
competing.
are very separate from
Yeah,
each
so
other. But
let me rewind a little bit here. I think that there's still a chance that they're going to be put onto other projects through Google. Maybe not so much like a game development sort of sense. I don't know what else a game developer can do at a search engine company whenever they don't have
So
a console.
let me just put this out there. So just because your primary focus is game development doesn't mean that you can't do other development tasks. As I
yes,
spoke
but
with
how many people, game developers, are like they probably
maybe
became
they
a
don't want to do that,
yeah,
but if it's a steady
I'm not like you
job,
can't speak for
and
all of them.
with
I'm
one
sure
of
there's
the
a
richest companies
portion.
in the world,
Yeah, that
you
were
know,
maybe I'm sure there was people that were brought over from other Google projects. Hey, you're going to be working on games now, and they're like, "What?" But yeah, I don't know. I find it like they're I think Google should be held more accountable and be held to the heat for the like just this little line of 150 employees. Oh, we'll organize them. It's like, well, that's 150 people that are in game development. I don't know. Just my 2 cents, anyways.
So the new partnerships that they're talking about, and I think this is where my brain was going. I apologize for my misspeaking there. My brain was looking at two big companies and mashing them together on how they're doing things. But these new partnerships that they're talking about, as well as what else are they doing? Setting it up as more the subscription service and things along those lines. Maybe they're going to get them out to these other partners, these other studios,
Mhm.
like because it wasn't just them, right? There were other studios that were working along with Stadia for this. Larian comes to mind, so maybe some of them go over there. Maybe so they start handing out taking some of these developers over to these other studios and getting them in there because along with them, I feel like the content that they are creating would go with them as well. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
they're canceling all the games that are in development at this point, sure, for the Stadia side, but maybe they still have those things kind of pre-built and they can hand them off to one of those other studios to take over. Um, I, I, I'm not too worried about them. Google will get them taken care of, right? Google's known for its nonsense whenever it comes to employees, but I think that they'll stick. This isn't the time for a company like them to leave people short. Um, and I think that they're going to do something to make sure that they don't do that. But yeah, these partners, that's going to be who gets these employees, that gets these games that have been canceled on Stadia side, and they get moved over because you're not just going to trash, a year's worth of work that somebody put into a game whenever you potentially can make revenue off of it.
I mean, been done millions of times before, I guess. But yeah, I like the optimism.
Yeah.
I'm optimistic.
You are. I appreciate it. I just have no. I don't
I'm
know.
way over on the optimistic side of things.
I love it. Love it.
I think Luke is I sort of disagree and agree with both of you. I think on the one hand, people are going to get jobs in some sort of development within Google, and I think there's going to be people that are perfectly happy with that because again, they're maintaining a steady job with one of the richest companies in the world, and they're going to get taken care of. And there's probably people that are going to separate from Google and they want to continue creating games. And maybe now that they've worked for Google for a while, they collected those fat paychecks. Maybe they can make their own games. They can realize their passion projects, start a Kickstarter or
Good point.
whatever. Maybe they go to another studio. So I think just because they're not staying on staff doesn't mean doors are totally closed to them. I think there's other opportunities, whether they find them with another company or they make it themselves.
Yeah, and they're in Los Angeles and Montreal, two hubs of tons of game studios. Like it's not like they're in some town where they're the only developers around, right? Like there'll be plenty of opportunity for them.
For sure. The other thing too is that yes, their studios now, their internal studios are now gone. And aside from the people losing their jobs, from a business side of things, I think it's a good thing for Google because now they can focus rather on making the games. They can divert that money that they were using to making games to getting exclusive deals with studios. So maybe they won't have their own develop internal exclusives, but they can go out and they can buy exclusive games. They can get more partnerships. They can we always talk about, well, if Google just throws money at these people, they can get games day and date on their platform and blah blah blah. And this is the way they do that, I assume. I don't know for sure. I'm not a businessman, but you have to figure that money is probably going to stay within Stadia to continue to develop the technology and get them exclusives and help them compete with physical gaming consoles. And to sort of a counterpoint to what you said earlier, Luke, about, you know, not being able to see why someone would do this or why they would pay for a game on that platform. Well, when you don't have the 500, 600, or whatever, 400, $500 cost of a game console, that's how many games, right, that you can buy and play on equipment that you already have. So yeah, I mean, you're paying for those games, but you would pay for those games if you had a console anyway. So it's really not any different. It's
I
just
just see it as
you,
like you're buying a, like, for example, Hitman 3 is you can stream it on your Nintendo Switch, right? And I've heard that it's not great, right? And obviously it's the
that's the
Switch.
Switch though.
Yeah,
That's
it is the Switch, but I mean, I've streamed even xCloud at home, like standing only 10 feet away from my router, and I've had issues, right? And I have a pretty good connection here where I'm at. I'm very fortunate for that. So I don't know, I just like, I couldn't pay $80 for like to stream something. At least when I'm buying it digitally, I can download, I can play it offline. I don't need to have that stable
Mhm.
interconnection. If I am, Taylor the Saver mentioned it in chat there. If I'm in the middle of nowhere and don't have the best internet connection, I can still rely on a physical copy to play that game. So I just think that charging full price for something that is streamed, it just, I can't, I refuse to accept it. And I think a subscription model where you have a library of games makes a lot more sense for streaming video games at this point. And until we can get it to a better place, I don't know.
And they do have that with Stadia Pro, by the way, just to kind of go back on that. Like if you do want a library of games, it's a fairly small library of games. It's not definitely not as expansive as say Game Pass is, but it's, it is still an option for those that want to give Stadia a try. It's a cheap buy-in, right? You try it, you can see if streaming services work for your situation, and if it doesn't, you
Yeah.
cancel. You don't buy games
Yeah.
on that
That's
platform,
it.
but
That's a
if it
good
turns
point.
out you can stream and you know,
Works
you
out pretty good.
get to
Then
a
you
point
can
where you feel more
yeah.
comfortable with buying the game on the platform, then there you go. So
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
like you're a get off my lawn away from being really old, because I think streaming's it. Like streaming
No,
service for
oh
games.
no, I
okay,
think it
let me just put on the record before I dig myself a hole here. Like I've said on Games Are Fun podcast that streaming is the future. I just like,
yeah.
if I just don't think streaming and buying the software, I'm not sold on that yet. I'm all about streaming games, done it on xCloud, I had some really positive experiences, and I can't wait when we have this conversation 2-3 years from now, just how, how it's in all our devices, how it's so easy to go between. Like I can't wait for that.
Yeah, so now we kind of have to just, sort of hope and trust that Google is going to focus all their energy on making the tech better, creating a more consistent platform for people like you who are hesitant to buy games on it to make them feel more comfortable in doing that. So we'll see if they have that sort of laser focus, and then
Mm-hmm.
they can just have their, whatever PR or whoever go out and throw money at studios to get exclusives, or at least have the games day and date, because we've seen a lot of instances where games don't come on Stadia until months later. And if they can at least get to a point where it's day and date and the platform runs well, then they can start to make a foothold for streaming in the market along with xCloud. I think there's room for both. I don't think xCloud has to come out and just eat all of Stadia's business. I think Stadia they can make their own foothold in the market, and I think Luna can make its own foothold in the market. Luna's got kind of its own niche little thing going on there. Um, but yeah, I think streaming is going to be, like Steven said, it's the future, and technology is cool, and I think it just has to get better. That's all, and that comes with time.
Mhm.
Make it good now.
Yeah.
Right now.
I don't care that there's
We're
a
entitled to
pandemic
good
going.
games now. If you want a good platform and you want it now, install Google Stadia.
Yeah, love it.
All right. So let's. Sorry for that, everybody. For those listening, Twitch listeners, podcast listeners, whatever. I'm sorry for that. I apologize. Please don't leave us. Um, uh, let's get into our next topic here. The Mass Effect Legendary Edition gameplay trailer was revealed. So I have a story here from Game Informer from Leanna Rupert. And what we find here is the Mass Effect Trilogy, an iconic action RPG franchise that still has fans in love even years after release. Now, the already impressive community is about to get a lot bigger because the remaster is opening up Commander Shepard's story to gamers of this generation. They go on to say, let's find where we get into. So there's a trailer that launched for it, which those that are on video or here in Twitch are seeing now. Really great trailer, looks absolutely gorgeous. This legendary edition looks absolutely incredible, but it also comes with a lot of content. So you get the 3 games. It has 40 DLC or over 40 DLC, including all promo weapons, armors, and packs. It's remastered for 4K. There's enhanced visuals concerning models, lighting, shaders, and special effects, gameplay and quality of life improvements, and it's all available under one single launcher. So that's pretty nice there. So the article goes on to list all the DLC, so all the story stuff that came across the various games, the weapons and armor packs from the games, so many things. Let's see. The Legendary Edition doesn't, however, come with the Mass Effect 3 multiplayer, which is still active to date, but it does offer hours upon hours of additional content from the vanilla trilogy experience. So interesting that they decided not to include that, but I think the main focus was for the 3 single player campaigns that everybody knows and loves. And I've been seeing a lot of people on Twitter that are saying they're going to be playing it for the first time, which I find extremely surprising. I thought everybody played through these games anyway. I want to hear what you guys have to say about this trilogy.
Give it to me now. I want this so bad. Like, Mass Effect is one of my all-time favorite franchises. All-time favorite franchises. I'm a fan of Andromeda. I know it wasn't critically acclaimed.
I liked it too.
Yeah, it was
I don't
good,
care what
right?
people say.
I'm ready to get back into this galaxy again. As Commander Shepard, I know that part of their remaster was kind of redoing the framework of FemShep, or the female character for Shepard. I know that there's a lot of rework that went around that character. So I'm even considering possibly going into my next playthrough with this as the female character. I'm ready. I'm so ready for this, because if they're going to take the same mechanics that they had from 2 and 3, move it into 1, and they're updating all the graphics on this, if that's what they've got going on with this, like, we're looking at like basically a full revamp of this game series, and I'm here for it. I'm even considering the legendary edition of the legendary Mass Effect game, because it comes with a whole bunch of cool stuff. There's a sweet helmet that comes along with it, right? So like, this is one of those things. This is like one of these most hype moments for me for this year is whenever this game releases. I'll have it day one. I'm considering taking my stream over from Final Fantasy 14 for it, because it's that good of a game series that I enjoy playing, that it's just one of those things that I just want to share with the world that love, because it's a deep one. The other thing too, that's kind of, all these things are starting to trickle out now too from BioWare about Mass Effect. And the one interesting piece that was out there, I mentioned it this morning on my stream, is they had a spin-off in mind after Mass Effect 1. It was like a Han Solo-esque sort of Mandalorian type of deal that they had from the Mass Effect galaxy. Like, do we start seeing that sort of stuff? These spin-off games come out where we get a different perspective. Like, this is lining up along with the brand new one that they're coming out. This thing is lining up a great kind of return to one of BioWare's greatest series, and I'm giddy. I'm giddy, and I got goosebumps all over because of this stuff. I'm so ready for it.
It's gonna be legend. Wait for it. Dairy.
So this is where you guys hate me. I've never played the Mass Effect games. I've played a small chunk, like the very beginning of Mass Effect 1, and I think I got busy, had to put it down, and then I just never rebooted it up again. But
That is a hard hurdle for people to get over, and I don't blame the opening few hours of the first Mass Effect is really tough to get. It's a bit of a slog, if I'm being honest.
yeah,
And then once you get through that, it's just, oh my gosh,
then
it's
that's
so
where
good.
it opens up.
Because you're crammed into the Citadel for the first
Mhm.
good
And it's a
portion of the
lot of
game.
walking around. It's a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of, not much is happening.
Okay, well that's really good to know, because that's kind of how I was feeling. I was just like, all right, this is an interesting first impression, but I just didn't have the time frame to give it some more time on that play session. But when we did our kind of reactions to the Game Awards on your channel, Steven, twitch.tv/lordlykings. I talked about Mass Effect and how it's been a franchise that I have wanted to jump into, but I felt like I missed the boat, right? I never had any interest on the 360 generation. And then, when Andromeda came out, that's when I tried Mass Effect 1. And yeah, it's just like I feel like I've been given a lot of reasons now why it's a good game. People have sold me on it, and now that this package is coming out with all three of them, I mean, the game looks beautiful. Definitely go check out some like side by side videos up on YouTube where they compare the original to the remastered. It looks great. I'm really excited for it, and it's a good, middle of the year. I think that's a good time for it. I'm not sure like what else it's kind of around. I think there's a couple other May releases. Returnal's at the end of April, but yeah, I'm just looking forward to actually getting into this franchise and getting into the conversation on it, because I feel like I'm definitely missing out when everybody talks about it. But from my understanding, 1 and 2, really good. 2 especially. 3, like, I feel like 3 doesn't have as much of a following. Or there, what would you guys say is like your favorite ones?
So what happened with 3 was the ending. Everything about 3 is fantastic, but what happened with 3 is that a lot of the players got to the ending of 3 and they're like, what? Kind of just like, what is this?
Okay.
And that's what kind of it put a lead weight on 3, even though it's like, again, just part of a glorious trilogy. Because all 3 games, and I say this about Final Fantasy 14 a lot, is that the entire game is fantastic. You're going to have rankings, right? For me, I think Mass Effect 1 is my all-time favorite.
Okay.
But 2 and 3 are still phenomenal titles, so it's like it's one of those deals. And BioWare, one thing to remember about BioWare is they're an RPG maker, and RPGs start out slow. But the thing about BioWare is that once you get past that slow part, everything opens up and it just goes berserk. So there's not, and the thing about 2 and 3 is that all the slog for the story is done. So 2 and 3, you're basically jumping right into all this craziness that's going on in the galaxy at the time. So there you have that sort of difference between the two of them. I loved 3. I loved 1. 2 is probably the one that I would put lowest on my list, but I know Palooza has different opinions on that.
Yeah, 2 is easily my favorite of the series. Oh, 2 is so good. I played through that game so many times. 1 and 3, I think I only played through once or twice each of those. But I would say 2 is easily my favorite of the trilogy. 1 it would probably be my second favorite, again, once you get through the slog, and then of course it gives you the planet traversal vehicle, the Mako. Absolute trash. I'm hoping that's one of the quality of life fixes they made for the game. Total garbage. It is a garbage truck. It may as well be on fire when you drive it, because that's what it's a flaming driving dumpster. A big old fat turd on wheels. But no, Mass Effect 2 is amazing. It's the best one in the series. Although I think, I'm very curious to see what the quality of life changes they make across the series, because I think there's a lot they could do to make the first game even better and make that as a contender as a favorite of the series. Three, I liked three. Three was good. The ending was awful. Maybe they make some decent changes to the ending that people actually like it this time around. That would I'm actually really interested to know now if the ending
That'd be
stays the same,
pretty crazy if they did that.
or if
Yeah.
they actually went through to make changes to the end of three, and I'm actually really interested to see that now. But yeah, I'm really interested to see what quality of life changes they make to see how they change the overall gameplay, because again, two had really great gameplay, one had really good gameplay, but there was stuff about it that I just didn't enjoy so much, and then three, I don't know. Three was just very linear compared to the first two. I feel like for the most part, but I think that's why I didn't care for it quite as much as the others. But yeah, a great trilogy. This
You
is
bring up
really exciting.
a good point about the Mako though. For one, like, what if for one, because there's a lot of work, legwork to do on planets in the Mako. What if, or wheel work, I guess you could say. What if they flesh out those planets a little bit more for you? Is that going to be something that you're going to be there for? Because they're a little barren.
They
So,
are, yeah.
So like if they flesh out those worlds a little bit more for you in the Mako, is that going to change your opinion?
If it feels maybe a little bit more lived in, or there's a little bit more going on, different events that maybe occur on it, because there were some cool events that I won't, say or spoil anything, but there were some pretty cool events that did happen on some of those planets. And yeah, I mean, it's just that the overall traversal was sometimes very hard to deal with. And then Andromeda sort of brought, so if they do controls in Mass Effect 1 like they did with Andromeda, and I forget what they called the vehicle in that game. I don't think it was the Mako. Was it?
The Mako 2.
Okay.
It wasn't. Yeah, we just called the Mako 2 though.
So, yeah, Mako 2. Yeah, if they basically do that same control scheme with the Mako in the original game, I think it'll be 1,000% better, because I hated driving that thing so much. And yeah, adding stuff to the worlds and making it feel more diverse and lived in, or active, I think would be really, really cool.
And let me romance Tali early in Mass Effect 1.
Yes, please, because they didn't let you do that till the third game.
Yeah, till 3.
Yeah,
you couldn't start that romance till 3, and that's the only person through the game that I wanted the romance was Tali, and they didn't let you do it until the third installment. Nonsense.
Tali is best girl.
Yep,
for sure. All right. Anyone have any other thoughts they want to share on the Mass Effect Legendary Edition?
Give it a try if you haven't. That's it. Yep. If you haven't played the game and you are an RPG fan of any kind, give Mass Effect a try. Get past that first part in the Citadel in the first game, and everything else from there is going to get you taken care of. That would be that's my last input.
Real quick, because I just want to think about time here a little bit. So this comes out in May, right? Returnal's coming out the end of April. What if Zelda is actually a Q2 game? What do you guys do?
I say screw you, Mass Effect. I'm playing Zelda.
You know what? Same for me. Bring on the Zelda, but yeah, that would be woof. Man, Ready? What a Q2 we might be in for.
I say screw you, Zelda. I'm playing Mass Effect.
All right, fire this intern. Fire him. Intern's not working out.
Yeah.
Call the temp agency. Take him back. All right. So let's go ahead. We'll move on. Luke, why don't you give us the rundown on our sponsor today, which is the Games Are Fun store.
Yeah, I dropped the ball because Steven had this great idea of being the voice for these Games Are Fun store commercials. And I'm like, that is a fantastic idea, Steven. He asked for me to write a script, and I did not do that. So
I got the voice, right?
You got the voice. So I'll ask you right now, Steven, do you think you could improvise it, or do we want to save your debut for next episode?
Improv, like I can do it whenever I'm in character on my stream. Like right now I could basically give you the opening and that's it. Okay. This episode is brought to you by the Games Are Fun podcast store, where you can buy the best merchandise on the internet.
Perfect. I love it. Well, I'll take it from there, Steven. We'll get you that ad read next time, and yeah, it's gonna be great. I'm looking forward to it. So thank you. Sorry, let me just bring this for the Twitch viewers so they can see pictures of our. Sorry, I need to log in so they can see pictures of the merch that we are talking about. So, sorry, didn't have this set up ahead of time. Okay.
So games are fun, right?
Games are fun.
They are fun.
What an aptly named podcast show. Games are fun.
Perfect. Here we go. All right. Actually, you know what? Reset. Steven, I need the intro one more time. Let's hear it.
This episode of Games Are Fun is brought to you by Games Are Fun podcast merchandise, where you can buy the best merch on the internet.
Love it. We have a collection of apparel and accessories for our Twitch viewers over here. My favorite is the Spaced Out Alien tee. It was designed by my friend Andrew Bardecki. It's an original design. I just love it. I told him, give me 2 aliens playing video games with a bunch of snacks on, and he delivered and exceeded my expectations. If we drop it back to the cam here, you can also get these pocket tees, which are quite popular. They come in white and black, but yeah, the store is the best way to support Games Are Fun. We have a collection of things to choose from. When you buy something from this store, it supports Games Are Fun. We do this all on our own time and on our own dime. So having some financial support would greatly help us improve the productions here at Games Are Fun. So yeah, and you get a piece of merch out of it, a piece of swag. So head over to gamesarefunpodcast.com or teespring.com/stores/gamesareFun and pick up your merch today.
My favorite's that coffee mug, by the way. I got mine. I love it.
Yeah, it turned out really, really solid too. I was, because the thing with Teespring, real quick, just as a side note, like, you basically design everything, but they handle all the production and shipping. And they take, obviously, I think it's like half the cut for these things, but I mean, they're doing all the legwork. And so, there's always that chance that something doesn't print right, but the mugs look great. I ran into some printing issues when we first launched, but yeah, it's going to be really solid. And I will say right now that there is a possibility that some of these designs may disappear to make room for some new designs. Level grinders tee possibly, ? Maybe some hats. I don't know. There's some things we're cooking up over here on the Games on Our Fun store. So you're going to want to pick up that merch before it disappears. Because I can tell you without a doubt, we are going to retire some of these designs to make rooms for the new ones. So get on it now, everyone.
All right. So let's move on. We'll talk a little bit about what we've been playing. So Luke, why don't you get us started off with what you've been playing?
Sure. So I have been playing some older games. We're kind of in that period of time where there's not a lot of new AAA releases every single week. Which is actually really nice because it gives me the opportunity to catch up on the backlog. So I actually have been playing Hitman 1, which that's not the one that released, but I was so like watching gameplay of Hitman 3 got me all excited and nostalgic for Hitman 1, the only one I've played, only Hitman in general that I've played. And so I own that game. I thought, let's give it a shot. So I've been playing that. I played through kind of like the main campaign, but those are sandbox games, right? They have so much replayability of just going into the different levels and, assassinating people in different ways. There was a really, I got to give my assassination skills, I got to commend them because in one of these levels, it's Colorado in the first game, I was able to lure a target. And I was in this garage and I saw that there is a car up on a lift and you could sabotage it so the car lift falls down, and I'm like, oh, this is setting it up. I got to use this to kill one of my targets. So I dropped a car. Actually, what led to it is I was trying to lure the target, and I was throwing coins and trying to get him underneath the car. And so I killed about 4 like random people, dropping the car, trying to get the person I needed, but they just kept going out, so they'd freak out after the person died, and then I would just kind of hide away, and then they're like, okay, well, back to business, and then I would drop it again, and it's like, oh, I missed him again that time. So I eventually got him, so that was really fun. Yeah, Colorado, that mission, definitely like the worst location out of all these awesome like environments you get to explore, but the most challenging level in the game. So really like that. So a lot of fun with that. I hope to pick up Hitman 2 when it hits the next sale, and Hitman 3 will hopefully be on sale once I get through Hitman 2. So really like the series. Highly recommend them if you know, if that's your cup of tea. Even if you're the slightest bit interested in the Hitman games, they're a lot of fun. All you need to do is play one level, see how open it is and how many ways you can kill your targets, and it's a lot of fun. So having a good time with that. I also have restarted my replay of God of War. Another thing that I don't like to admit on the record is I have not rolled credits on God of War 2018, which I'm very ashamed of, and I've taken a lot of flack for it over the years. But with Ragnarok coming at some point, maybe this year, maybe next year, I'm like, I need to get on this and beat this game. But it just sucks because I beat about 75% of it and just took a year and a half off or more from playing it. And so yeah, it was a bit frustrating to have to restart a new save after kind of going through all that progress, but I just needed to for the sake of the story. So I've been playing on easy just so that I can cruise through there, take on the enemies. That game is a lot easier on that setting. I think I was just playing on normal before, so I've enjoyed that. And I timed it really well because I think 2 days prior, just recently, they announced a PS5 patch for that game, so you can do 4K resolution at 60 frames per second. So I'm really excited to. I actually haven't tried the PS5 version out, so I'm going to be trying that out sometime this week. And lastly, to wrap it up here, I played the Resident Evil Village demo Maiden, which hit the PlayStation Store, I think a couple weeks ago now, but I haven't had the opportunity to talk about it. And I've talked about it on the show before. I'm a big fan of horror games, big fan of the Resident Evil franchise. And I think this game's going to be really solid. It was more of a visual demonstration, right? Showing the environments, what this game looks like on a next-gen console. And it looks fantastic. The reflections, everything is, that RE engine is looking great, and it looks great on a next-gen console. The demo itself, not, if we compare it to the Resident Evil 7 demo, I mean, Resident Evil 7 just had a much better demo for players, right? They had a lot more to explore, interact with. This one, it kind of starts you in the dungeon of a castle, and you kind of work your way up and explore some things. There's several parts of the castle that are just like blocked off with doors that you can't open. I suspect that if most of those doors can be opened in the real game, that's going to be just a pretty big space to explore, and that's just the castle. So to mention, we're going to have a village to explore as well. I think this game is going to have quite a few environments to explore with, which I'm really looking forward to. And it is a different, overall tone, or I guess a different aesthetic than what 7 was going for, right? It was in the South. It was in this swamp house that was just like totally overrun by nature, and it was dirty and gritty like you expect a Resident Evil game. This one, the castle, very pristine. Everything is very luxurious, and I think it's going to be really solid. And right now, like it's up there as one of my most anticipated games of the year. I'm glad that that's the game that's coming in May, is Resident Evil Village. So yeah, I'm probably gonna have to juggle my time between Mass Effect and that one, but yeah, only have a couple more months to wait, so I can't wait for it. Um, and I'm glad that they stuck with first person horror. Really glad that they continued that with the mainline games, because that made the game so much scarier, and I'm glad that they're kind of getting back to those horror roots that they started on. So that's it for me, and I'm probably just going to be playing these games for the next little while. I did play the medium on my stream. I don't know. I just don't really have much to say. It didn't meet my expectations. I have heard that you need to play it a little longer for the game to get good, but that's always kind of a questionable thing to go by, right? A game should be grabbing me, and if it's not, I got other stuff to play. So I think I will give it a little bit more time to see what happens with it, but disappointing showing for the first exclusive for Xbox Series S and X. So yeah, that's it.
Cool. Steven, how about you?
So just so that you don't feel too bad about God of War, Luke, at least you're playing it. I've had that game and I got it for free, mind you.
Right.
God of War 2018, got it for free. I've had that game downloaded on my PlayStation 4 now since 2018, and I haven't even touched it.
Yeah,
it's been in my
yeah.
backlog for that long, so don't feel bad. So I've been playing Stardew Valley. What kind of kicked this off is the new patch came out for PC. It's not on console yet, but it is coming. But I didn't know anything about this game. I knew about it. I just had never played it before. So I got it downloaded onto my Switch, and kind of have been tackling the main game, or the non-updated game, kind of getting into end game on that. I feel where my farm is popping off with wine and cheese and caviar. It's this high-end product producing farm at this point. I finished up the mines. I finished up the skeleton dungeon that they have. Like, just hitting end game on it and kind of taking care of all the business there, waiting for the new patch coming out. Great game, by the way. So much fun. Very addicting. Very just like sit down and chill and play. Like, I'll take a whole Saturday. It's a whole Saturday dedicated to Stardew, because me and the whole fam will sit there and just watch me farm. No, here's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Just all the time. It's so good. Patch 5.45 came out for Final Fantasy 14, so that's been a big hit. I have to kind of pull myself away from that. I feel like the kingdom is getting their fill of Bozja Southern Front. But I did unlock some new content with that, including the new 24-person raid, which is a ton of fun, filled with a bunch of cool mechanics. Just really great fights throughout that entire thing. Died a bunch of times tonight. Like, it was just a really good time. Really looking forward to going at that again, as well as taking on, it is a 48-person version of the same raid, with harder mechanics and more HP on the bosses, things along those lines. I'm really excited to get tackling into that. And of course, they had the Blue Mage content. I'm not caught up on that end with that job class, but it's on my back burner. I'm ready to get to it. I definitely am. But my big new play for this week has been Atelier Ryza 2, JRPG that came out last week. I've got about 10 hours into it now, and it's solid. It is a solid JRPG game, and it's been a lot of fun to play. There's a bit of menuing involved. Right now, the biggest irritation that I'm running into with it is inventory space. Inventory space is awful. They don't stack same items together, because there's a whole sub-mechanic to items that has to do with quality. So they can't stack each individual item together with each other, because each of them have a quality bar to them. And with the different quality bar, they're not the same. So they have to keep everything separate. And you run out of inventory very quickly, especially me, where I hit every gathering node that I come across. But yeah, about 3 hours a day that I'll spend on that. And you get a little bit of story, you get a little bit of adventure, you get a little bit of crafting done. And it's just magnificent. And I think I'll leave it on this with this game is, it is, I will say that with the robustness of this game, it is worth a $60 price tag. If you are a JRPG fan, you'll have a lot of fun with it. One of the best comments that I can come out with this, though, is goddess thighs. And that's it. That's it. That's all. But great game. That's what I've been playing. So playing this week, having a lot of fun with them.
Cool. All right. Well, for me, I've been playing. The first one I'm going to talk about is Cyber Shadow. I know we have a couple people in the Twitch chat here who watch me just melt down playing this game. Woof. I can't recommend this game. I hate saying bad things about games, but I can't recommend this one. Yeah, I really can't. So it has good bones to it. The gameplay is really good. The movement, the abilities and stuff that you get is really good. Um, it's challenging, which I'm into. I like the
Hmm.
challenge. I like the platforming. I like the combat. So like overall, the gameplay is good, but it has this really weird balance of like challenging real like difficulty and spacing out like their checkpoints. And one could easily, and we kind of had this discussion in chat when I was playing, is that it's it's easy to draw comparisons to like classic Ninja Gaiden games, right? And very much so, because think about how hard those games were. They're insanely difficult. And so I totally get that. On the other hand, though, Ninja Gaiden was a game that had lives and game overs. This game doesn't have that. It has checkpoints. And the checkpoints are spread out in very strange ways that just absolutely drove me mad, because I would play through some very, very difficult sections over and over again, which is, which is fine. But then you reach a certain point, it's like, okay, like I need to have a checkpoint. Otherwise, I'm not going to be able to progress any further. And it felt like they were padding the game by not having checkpoints in what would feel like logical places, right? When you look at a game like Celeste, right, you have some extremely challenging rooms, but when you get to the next room, that's your checkpoint. When you die, you start right over, you have at it again, and that's fine. Like the challenge part isn't what the problem is. And there was even a boss, and we're kind of seeing it here in the video that you're showing, Luke. There's a like a water dragon thing, which I died at a bunch of times, but that was a fun fight. And when I beat it, I felt accomplished. I
Hmm.
felt good. And and that was great. That was a good feeling. But then as you progress, basically right after that point is where the levels and the platforming and the enemy placements just started feeling really, really bad.
Hmm.
And it was at a point where it was making it extremely hard to progress. And I feel like the difficulty of this game and the lack of checkpoints is going to gate a lot of people that are interested in this game from playing it the whole way through. um Maybe that's what they wanted, I don't know. But yeah, I think there's some fairly poor level design that really gets in the way of this being a good game. That and the story feels a little incomprehensible. It's just the story's not good. It's not interesting. They try really hard to be vaguely mysterious to, I guess, make you want to know more, but I never found myself wanting to know more. And when story parts would come up, I was just not interested, and it just felt in several parts just nonsensical too. Hard to follow. So yeah, I can't really recommend this game. I'm sorry to the developers. I hope the launch went well for you. I hope other people are enjoying this game, but I did not. I did it first, and then later in the game I just couldn't. And like there's only 11 chapters, but once you hit some of those later chapters, it's just yeah.
Yeah, I was
That's
gonna say, like,
So,
early on, you were having a really good time with it,
oh
and
yeah,
and
yeah.
beautiful game,
yeah.
but
I was
Mhm.
gonna say that I think I watched your first stream there, and yeah, to hear this now, I'm
Mhm.
surprised because yeah, you were still liking it last time I saw you, but that's
It's
unfortunate
kind
that
of
last episode, Luke,
I
it
gotta
was
go back now and
golden
watch.
content for the amount
Yeah.
of rage. It was golden. It was
Yeah,
so
if you want to
good.
see the rage and watch me watch a man complain and bitch about a game, like go watch my last stream. I rage quit. I rage quit the game. I don't anticipate that I'm going to go back to it at this point. I have no interest. Um I ended up turning that off to play Donkey Kong Country, the original. And let me tell you what a great palate cleanser Donkey Kong Country was. Um, Man, that game's fun. I love that game so much. Um, it's a childhood classic that I really enjoyed. I never played Donkey Kong Country 2 or 3. So part of me wanting to play the original again was so that I would go through that, get reaccustomed to controls or whatever, and then jump into 2 and 3 and play Donkey Kong Country games that I never played before, because I know people really love those. A lot of people consider, I think 2 is generally considered most people's favorite, and I never got around to playing it. So it's definitely something that I've been wanting to do, and I just got fed up. And it was actually on the plan. I'm like, okay, once I beat Cyber Shadow, I'm gonna play through the Donkey Kong Country series. And I got to a point last night where it's like, I don't feel like having to play through this game that's just enraging me to get to the game that I really want to be playing right now. So I just shut it off. We played Donkey Kong Country. It was so much better. um so yeah, I moved through it pretty quick. I'm in the snow world now, and only a couple more worlds after that. So we're moving through the first game pretty quick. We'll be hitting DKC2 uh pretty soon, I think. And I've also been playing some Super Nintendo randomizer games. So I've been playing Super Metroid Randomizer again. I played a couple Chrono Trigger randomizers, and those are just some really fun ways to experience some of my favorite games of all time, to go back and sort of relive those without um playing the original version or the vanilla versions of the game. Which with Super Metroid, I've beaten that game so many times in vanilla that playing playing the randomized version just feels more fun. It's more challenging. It's challenging my ability as a player and making me better at the game and mastering the techniques and mechanics that uh, you're not really expected to be able to do in the original game. So that's fun. And then Chrono Trigger, again, it's an RPG. So if you're playing the vanilla version, you're probably going to be spending about 30 to 40 hours playing through that game. So randomizer makes a really nice way to sort of relive that game in a much shorter span of time. So yeah, that's what I've been playing. I also played a little bit of the medium as well, and kind of feel the same with you, Luke. Now, granted, I'm not a horror game person, but I have been sort of warming up a little bit more lately, thanks to Phasmophobia, which I won't get into. I've gushed about that game enough, um, but yeah, that was sort of the gateway drug, I guess, into horror games. And I just kind of wanted a game that was gonna kind of spook me. That's sort of what I wanted. And this game hasn't really done that, at least in the
No.
couple hours or so that I've played. Yeah, it's not scary at all, which is kind of a bummer. There might be a couple jump
It's
scares
kind of like
here
a
and there, but
thriller, like
yeah, yeah,
this,
yeah.
yeah, very surreal, dealing with
Hmm.
two planes of existence, but it's like, where's the spook?
Exactly. That's what I wanted. I want that phasmophobia, like just the atmosphere of that game, right? Like
Mhm.
when you go into a house by yourself,
Yeah.
especially, and the atmosphere that game has is just so heavy, and the medium didn't have that, and it's immediately kind of a turnoff for me. So yeah, I want to give it a little bit more time, I think, kind of like what you were saying, but I don't know how much I'm willing to
Hmm.
give it for it to get to that point where it's actually good. So,
Do you
but yeah,
remember? Do you remember, you guys, when you tell me just keep playing Ghost of Tsushima? It gets good at Act Two. Do you remember you kept on telling me that?
yeah, well,
Well, here,
It
and I
does.
take your
said
own
like
advice.
it,
Take your own
and I
advice,
did preface
guys.
that by saying it takes a while to get to
It
Act
does.
Two,
Yeah.
but again, once you get there, it is really good. I'm not saying you should force your way through it,
Yeah.
but it definitely does get better once you reach Act Two and beyond.
There's so many argument. The one that like always stuck out to me is Death Stranding, right? Of I think it's chapter 4 or 5 when that game really starts going and like adds a lot of new gameplay elements to it. And it's like, but that's hours worth. So I'm not gonna
Hmm.
tell someone, it's like, if a game isn't grabbing you and you're told it gets better, I mean, that's up to you. Do you want to slave away for a couple more hours to try and get for the good? It's like that's where I'm at with the medium. It's like if it's supposed to get better, you know, like I'm not having a good time. So like this better needs to like really blow my mind for me to care about it at that point, right? So yeah.
All right.
Um I had a
And
thought, but disregard. It's gone. Yeah.
all right. Well, if you think about it, let me know.
Okay.
So moving on, we have our question of the week, which was actually issued back beginning of January, I think. So
Yeah.
this was more like question of the month.
Yeah, it was,
The
I guess.
question
Yeah.
was the question was, what is your most anticipated game of 2021? Which Luke let me know that he forgot to post this on social media. He did post it in the Games Are Fun Discord. So if you're not already in there, make sure that you get in there. We talk about lots of stuff and post a question of the week and talk about other things besides games too. But anyway, most anticipated game of 2021. Starting here, we have Dean C474, who says, "Not sure it's been officially announced yet, but I'm looking forward to the next Battlefield, which should be coming out this year. Also, Boundary looks like a really cool space shooter."
You guys heard of
Next,
that
we
game?
have I'm not familiar with
I
that game.
saw
No.
something yesterday, or not yesterday, last year. On this, it's basically a first-person shooter in space. You can keep reading the responses. I'll throw up a trailer for the Twitch viewers.
All right. So next we have Nishan, who says, "For games with an official 2021 release date, I'll go with Arkham Knights. That will be the game that pushes me to get a next gen console. That being said, my real most anticipated is whichever big Pokemon game we'll be getting in November, whether that's a Let's Go version
Mhm.
of Johto, the Gen 4 remake, or Detective Pikachu 2. Next, we have Gravier 1984, who says Horizon Forbidden West. Excited to dive back into that world and continue Aloy's journey. And then Glitch 98 says definitely Halo Infinite. So nice, good mixture of responses there. Yeah.
I got a
It's
couple
going to
of
be a
core
really good. Go ahead.
once we take a look at Boundary, though, this is that really interesting. It is a space shooter. I think it has really interesting movement in it too.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I remember seeing this.
It looks like
Yeah.
super photorealistic, and mind you, it is just a trailer. I think there's gameplay coming, or probably like I don't know, take this gameplay with a grain of salt, but like the mechanic of floating through space while trying to shoot someone and using like your jetpack to, I mean, it's been done before, but this looks like legit.
It does.
So
Looks like Call of Duty.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyways, I thought I'd show off the trailer because it's definitely, I don't think it's on people's radar. So, anyways.
It's on mine now. So yeah, I got a couple other ones from the Kingdom here. One of our newest members of the Kingdom, Queen Rose, says Rune Factory 5, which is a pretty cool looking
Nice.
JRPG that's going to be coming out for the Switch.
Yeah, definitely.
And then Nishan echoed his want for a November Pokemon game, whichever one that may be. Mr. Agu himself won't be playing it, but looking forward for people playing the Near Replicant and Bravely Default 2, which, yeah, those are going to be pretty awesome.
Very
And
cool.
then,
We
of course,
also had
go ahead.
we had Taylor the Savior in chat who says Final Fantasy 16 for me if it comes out this year. Yes. Oh man, I hope it comes out this year. It's going to be really good.
100%. And then, yeah, we've got Angarland's next Final Fantasy 14 expansion due out this fall. And both those Final Fantasy titles, give them to me. And then, yep, that's what we got.
7 Remake 2.
7
Let's
Remake
go.
2.
Let's go Square. Let's get that out here. We need part 2.
With all the Final, just forget all other games. That's it. it's going to be Final Fantasy this year, and that's it.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Mass Effect.
All right. So that's going to wrap up the show then. So thanks everybody for tuning in. Really appreciate it. Whether you're listening on podcast, watching on YouTube, or you're live here in the Twitch chat, we appreciate every single one of you. So Stephen, where can people find you?
So I am on Twitch as well as Twitter. Lordly King S. is where you can find me. I stream Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. Eastern Time until 12, 1-ish all days. And I'm starting to rebuild my Facebook, so you may hear about me coming back on there. And also Instagram, Lordly King S. So we'll be having, you can find me at the same name everywhere.
All right, Luke, how about you?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at Luke Allen Arm, and on Twitch, twitch.tv/Luke the Llama. I'm actually, there is a 80% chance I'm gonna do a late night stream. So if you guys are out listening in the Twitch chat, maybe come and watch me play some Resident Evil 3 remake if I have the energy to do so.
All right, and you can find me on Twitch, Twitter, and now Instagram. I just created an Instagram account. I am at AdamPalooza85, so you can get a hold of me on any one of those platforms. Also, to follow the show, twitch.tv/Games Are Fun Podcast. We're on Twitter at Games Are Fun Pod, facebook.com/Games Are Fun Podcast. You can join our Discord at invite.gg/Games Are Fun. And you can get a hold of us by email at contact@gamesarefunpodcast.com. I'm also realizing, Luke, we don't have a new question of the week.
Yeah, I literally thought of the exact. I'm like, this is what Adam's about to say. I don't know. Now we're on the spot. What did we talk about this episode? We talked about Breath of the Wild,
Mass Effect, Stadia, Animal Crossing.
I was gonna try and see.
Go ahead. What is the question of the week for next week?
yeah, exactly. I'm wondering if we could maybe issue a question surrounding like we could. I know it's not super exciting, but we could, see what the community thinks of Breath of the Wild 2 when they think it's going to release. And or Metroid Prime 4, just a Nintendo kind of question. I don't know.
Actually,
how about this? No, there's no. I was going to say we could have someone. We could have them maybe make a prediction on what we might see at a potential upcoming Nintendo Direct. But there's really no way to. Yeah. There's no way to confirm or deny whatever those responses would be.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I'm looking at chat. Nishan's got a nice one right now because we had a lot of discussion about the hours put into a game before you give up on it, and I think that's a good one. I think I like it. How many hours into a game do you play before you just give up? You just don't play it anymore, no matter what anybody tells you about it.
Or even at one point, or even if you don't want to quantify it in a number of hours, at what point, or essentially, at what point would you give up on a game?
When it starts,
like
to
whether
suck.
that be the amount of time or a specific mechanic, or like what would make you quit a game?
Makes you angry enough to break a controller.
I didn't break one with Cyber Shadow, but man, that game made me so mad last night. Checkpoints, Cyber Shadow, checkpoints.
Maybe they'll patch them in for you.
All right. Well, yeah, I guess that's our question. So again, I will remember to put it on the Twitter. I'm always so like, I schedule the episode. I get like a little thumbnail together, and because I don't like to put the question of the week like same time. I like to space the tweets out so that people see them, and then I just end up forgetting. So after this episode, I'm scheduling a tweet to go out tomorrow afternoon. You can answer it at Games Are Fun Pod on Twitter, or like most of the responses on our invite.gg/Games Are Fun Discord server.
All right. Sounds good. So that'll wrap it up. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you hanging out with us, and we'll catch you next time.